Greetings. Welcome back to another fantastic episode of the Death, Taxes, and Sports podcast. Here with one of my esteemed colleagues, Mr. Ben Holloway. Excited to bring you episode 134. Sir, how you doing? It's been a good 2 weeks. Had to recharge, but ready to get back at it.
Man, that's what I love. It's our show. We can be flexible as long as we want to be flexible. So we said we want a week off, then we take a
Definitely.
week off. That's it. Here we are. Here we are.
Definitely. Exactly. We're back. But tonight we're going to discuss the NBA Finals, some NFL storylines, playoff predictions, and as well as more NBA. There's been a lot of sports talk over these last 2 weeks, man. But first, I'm going to throw you a little bit of curveball, man. Did you see Monica McNutt's statement against your boy Stephen A. Smith?
Oh man, I watched and I was like, I wonder the next time she's going to be on. Because normally when something like that goes down live, the next segment after commercial is an apology, or even maybe 30 minutes later, that person's back on. She wasn't back on that day. Now, could she be on tomorrow or, on Friday after the finals game one? Sure. But, I really don't. I think Stephen A was legitimately pissed. And I don't. It's hard to pick a side necessarily. I don't think Monica McNutt should have done it in the fashion that she did, but she might not be wrong with what she said. It's just you might want to say that on a commercial break. But at the same time, here's what happened, right? We can see body language, reactions. She was annoyed for the first 20 minutes because Stephen A. and Shannon Sharp, to be fair, were not being 100% clear. And Molly and her were getting annoyed because they weren't. It was Monica McNutt. She was annoyed for like a solid 20 minutes before that explosion. It wasn't an explosion at all.
Yeah.
But before she uttered that line, she was already pissed off for like 20, 25 minutes. And to be honest, it's because Stephen A. and Shannon Sharp weren't being clear. It's confusing even watching it. It's like, what is your actual point?
To keep it 100 though, when those two guys talk, sometimes they just don't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
And no disrespect to Shannon Sharp, but sometimes I'm like, where are you trying to go with? He's one of my favorite Broncos, but man, I'm like, bro, like, where are you trying to get to? Where are we trying to go? But hey, it is what it is.
Sometimes it seems like he's reading a 35-page chapter, and I'm like, what was the point?
Right.
But after you talk for those 5 minutes, what point were you actually making?
Right. And again, he's a very smart dude. He's one of the smartest dudes out there, man. But just sometimes you're like, okay. But all right, let's get to this to some of these segments, man. The first one we have to ask is, what player has the most at stake or most to gain or lose by the outcome? And I'm going to start with this one first, if you don't mind. Normally, I throw it to you first, but I'm going to be really quick here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I feel Luka is playing with house cards because if he goes out and he balls and they lose in 7 games, he has another year to now next year, because I don't think many people thought they were going to get it in the first place. Mm-hmm. So I think he's playing with house money. I think Kyrie Irving, knowing what we already know about him, and he already has a championship, I think this would improve his legacy, but I don't think it's going to mean as much as it means as far as Jason Tatum. Mm-hmm. Jason Tatum is the one that was drafted in the top 3, also Jaylen Brown, but all NBA, considerable in the top 5. They say that Jason Tatum is the guy, but he hasn't shown up in key clutch moments throughout the duration of the season, which we have chronicled throughout the whole entire season. So not only does he have to win the ring, but he has to be the finals MVP, and he has to be the major reason why. He cannot play average and they win. Your thoughts?
Yeah, he can't just average like 17 points a game and they win. Like that ain't gonna do it. That ain't gonna do it. I knew the answer to this question was obvious, but I still think it's extremely relevant to talk about. I knew we were all going to say Tatum, and that's fine. It's good to have discussion whether we. I mean, he's accomplished. If we're being completely fair, he's accomplished a lot in a short career. But at the same time, as of right now, to me, I know it's a different sport, but to me right now, he's Peyton Manning when the Colts were the 1 seed all the time and we're flopping on their faces. Like that's where you are right now. You're Peyton Manning before a championship.
I love picking you off 3 times in a playoff game.
Now, of course,
Remember that game?
Peyton Manning got his championship with the Colts, got one with Bronco, like he got his rings. But for a long time, it was like you guys were dominant in the regular season. You get 1 seeds. Not only would they not even, they would lose the first round, well, the divisional round, but they wouldn't even make the conference championship game half the time. So for me, it's like all this regular season wins and playoff wins is great. We're not diminishing it because it's not easy. Because if it was easy, you'd have like a couple of teams in the conference finals 6 out of the last 8 years. Like that's a big accomplishment. 6 out of 8 years. That's a very big accomplishment.
Definitely.
But I mean, you gotta close it off. You gotta end it with the ring.
It's a different tier type of players though, Ben. Like if you are just a middle of the road guy, like I don't know. I'm trying to think. Who's a guy that is not like a superstar, but you'd be surprised let's say Tyus Halliburton. Okay. Let's say if Tyus Halliburton and took the Indiana Pacers to the NBA Finals, right? And they lose in 7 games, you're going to see that as a successful season, right?
Absolutely.
And you're going to see it. Oh, look who is here. Gary Legend.
Gentlemen, hello. How are you?
Hold on, everyone. Stop the presses. Gary Legend is in the building. Give a round of applause, sir. Thank you for joining.
I know it's been a while. I'm glad to see both of you guys. Certainly sights for sore eyes here. But I'm here, doing all right, and I'm here to talk sports.
Hey, Gary, the feeling's mutual. We're happy to see you as well, sir.
Yes, sir. Right. So let's toss you the question that we were discussing. My thoughts don't matter anymore because Gary Legend's here, everybody. He's the star of the show. What player has the most at stake? So let's say like most to gain or lose by the outcome. We agreed it was going to be Jason Tatum, but feel free to disagree. Please disagree.
I mean, Jason Tatum's I think that's the easy answer because he put the target on his back to be in the same category, try to be in the same, in the same topic as some of the all-time greats, and obviously he's a disciple of Kobe himself. So he's going to want that the pressure's on him to be the reason why his team wins the championship. Never mind winning one, because I feel like Jaylen Brown could easily be that person that gets him over the top. And we look back and go, well, why didn't they? It was really his team and not Jason Tatum's. But again, that's just going off on a tangent. You want a different name. I'm going to give you Kyrie Irving, and here's why. For his reputation overall, which has been dragged through the mud for the better part of the last 5 years, and probably longer than that, but really the last 5 years have been kind of dicey for our friend Kyrie. I think a championship in Dallas, a second championship, and helping Luka get to his first one, I think that helps us. I think that opens the door for us to talk about Kyrie Irving and, his place among the best point guards of our era. I think he's there, but I think that second championship one without LeBron will certainly be huge for him. So I think he has the most at stake as far as to gain. To the most to lose, I mean, Jason Tatum, he doesn't win one. We're not going to look at him as the superstar player that he thinks that he is.
Yep. And he has to be the main like we were also saying, like, he can't just like win, but Jaylen Brown cannot be the finals MVP. The finals MVP has to be Jason Tatum. All you got to do is do it once, and then you're playing with house money for the rest of your career.
I mean, we did this with Steph Curry 2 years ago. We said he has to be the reason that the Warriors won a championship. He has to be the finals MVP because the other 3 were Iguodala and Durant. So he did that. He got over that hump, and he showed everybody why we look at him as perhaps the greatest pure shooter of all time. Yeah. He had to take on that assignment of being the best in that series. If Jason Tatum wants to be considered a great for this era, I'm not even going to put him all time yet.
Boston, though.
Mm-hmm. And for Boston, I think it further establishes, like, it'll make him the icon that he wants to be if he wins that 18th banner.
There you go. Ben, you know how it is to win a championship for Boston. Like, it means more to win a championship for Boston or for the Lakers or for the Pistons than it might be for Milwaukee, just because of that history. But go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, I was just going to say on Tatum, this was an interesting side note I had to bring up. So this is the first time, it's a little bit of a mouthful, but it's relevant, trust me. It's the first time since 2012 that two people are playing in the finals that made first team All-Pro that season that both don't have a ring. 2012, it was KD and LeBron, first team All-Pro, no rings. This year, obviously, Jason Tatum and Luka, first team All-Pro. One of them's going to get a championship. So that's just a little storyline. But yeah, definitely a lot is on Tatum, and it should be, frankly. You're the guy. You're about to get paid, I think, like $325 million or something crazy like that.
Stupid number.
More than Jaylen Brown. So I think it's like 325 or 330, whatever it is. If you're that guy, now's the time. Like, now is the time. And I think that he's got to step up. And your point on Kyrie, Gary, I know perfect segue to the next mini segment. I would say perfect. I would say that although it's not the same, history doesn't necessarily care about circumstances sometimes. This would be Kyrie getting a ring without LeBron. Meanwhile, Durant has not got a ring without Curry. Now, they're not, it's not equal. It's not exactly, but history is going to be history. If KD never gets another ring, then everyone's going to say, well, if you never went to the Warriors, you'd be Charles Barkley, Malone, Stockton. You wouldn't have a ring. Now Kyrie's got a chance to say, yes, I have a superstar. We're not denying Luka is an amazing player, but he has a chance to get another ring without LeBron. So there's that to it. But I still, to be completely honest, the question is, more important for Luka or Kyrie. Even saying that, I think it's more important for Luka for two reasons. He's younger, number one, and number two, the names I just brought up. If you win a championship, you can't be on that list. Can't be on the Barkley, Stockton, Malone list. You got a championship. So I think for him, it's like, well, regardless of what happens in his career, the rest of his career, he's got a championship. So I think it matters a little bit more to Luka than Kyrie, in my opinion.
Yeah, and Gary, there's two things you have to look at. One, I don't think any of us were expecting them to make it to the finals. I thought that Minnesota was like a juggernaut getting ready to just steamroll everyone. Boy, were we proved wrong. Mm-hmm. You got to look at the West, and there hasn't been a back-to-back champion since, right? Yeah. This West is only going to continue to get more competitive. So this might be literally his only shot to get a championship. But let me throw one quick question. I'm going to throw a little curveball to this one. What holds more significance? Mm-hmm. Luka winning the title or Kyrie being the finals MVP?
It's Luka winning the title easily. I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I think Kyrie winning finals MVP. If we're being fair, I know LeBron put up the historic numbers, but if you look at that series as a whole, Kyrie Irving could have been the 2016 finals MVP just as easily. If you look back at the numbers for that. I think Luka winning a championship, it's him and Dirk. If he wins a championship, it's him and Dirk at the top of the mountain as far as greatest Mavericks of all time, because he's already pushed himself to the top of that mountain, and the only reason why he's not at the top is because Dirk has the one thing that he doesn't, and that's a championship. That's it. For Kyrie Irving, it'll be good for his legacy and his name to win a championship, because all the other BS that he has put teams through in the last few years will be forgotten about with a win. Yeah. Winning is the greatest deodorant, and you hear that all the time. Is the greatest deodorant in the world, and he wins. That stink that's been on him for 5 years is all gone. At least for a little while.
Hey, facts. And let's get this thing rolling here just for time purposes. And let's talk about those Bruce Browns, man. Who's going to be that one role player for both teams that's going to have a significant impact on the series? For me, it's very, very, very simple.
Well, Jeff, let me real quick. Do you agree that the championship is more important to Luka, or do you think it's more important to Kyrie? You didn't give your answer, so I just want to see what your answer was.
I'm going to say, because, if we're looking at it personal, or we think about what's personally meaning to them, I would say Kyrie, just because of his journey and all the other BS that he's gone through. And then for him to be a significant contributor on 2 championship teams, and he did it while, Kevin Durant and James Harden haven't really done much. So out of that big three, for him to kind of vindicate himself, I think that's going to mean a lot more. Luka, I mean, he's younger, so I think he has a little bit more time still. So I just think for Kyrie, this is time where he's healthy. He's had a lot of injuries, so kind of.
I didn't mean to steal your thunder, but yeah, let's get to them role players.
It's all good. It's all good, man. But Gary, these role players, man, I think it's going to be Derek Lively. I think he is the most important role player. Well, he is the most important bench player in that whole entire series, in my opinion. Just because what he could do as far as off the ball, the way that Kyrie and Luka are able to attack the paint because of his pick and roll game and his threat to do lobs, and he can pass. I think he's so important, and that's why they lost that game 4. I really do, because it changed up the way that they had to attack. But your thoughts, and then Ben, hop on in.
I think I look at Derek Lively and I see a little more skillful DeAndre Jordan in terms of what he can provide and what peak DeAndre Jordan brought to the table with the Clippers. Had they had a better team around him, he would have been the focal point of a championship team. And I think Derek Lively has that in him. On the Boston side of it, I think it's pretty obvious. Let's see what you got to get out of Kristaps Porzingis. I think that is the big X factor in all of this. Like, what are we going to get? Anybody that can give me like the 2010 Kristaps Porzingis, or is he still coming back from his injury and won't be as much of a factor? I think with Boston, there's far more chances for a role player to be the breakout, like a Drew Holiday. I can see him having a 30-point game in these finals arbitrarily, just because the game flows in that way for him, and that he could be the focal point of a championship winning team. So I will say it's a toss-up between Porzingis and Drew Holiday on the Celtics side, and then I agree with you, Jeff, on the Mavs side with Derek Lively. I think that those are going to be your X factors. When whoever hoists the trophy, there's going to be talk as these are going to be the players that got them to that point.
Yeah, and Ben, Porzingis is very important because they don't have too many bigs and they don't have too many rim protectors. So I'm concerned about them playing Al Horford 38 to 40 minutes.
I was getting ready to say that. I'm like, you can't drag Al Horford.
Right? I mean, can you imagine him having to run the floor, having to defend both Lively in the pick and roll, and as well as homeboy whose name I can't remember? Like, that's going to cause a lot of problems, Ben. But take it away.
If Horford averages more than 25 minutes per game, they're probably losing. Honestly, like more than 25, one game of like 35 when he's balling out, fine. But to me, if he averages like over, maybe 25 is a little bit low, but if it's like 27, 28, it probably means Porzingis is playing less than 10, and that ain't gonna do it. That's not gonna do it. As far as X factors, I went a little bit different, which is why we love the show and why we discuss the topics, but not what we're gonna say. Lively is a great choice on the Mavs, but I almost feel like he's almost too much of a main guy now that he doesn't really fit the role player or like X. Like, I just went a little bit different route. I think he's so important that it's like I couldn't consider him because of the importance that he has. Not that you guys are wrong, but I just went a little different way. For me, for the Mavericks, I went PJ Washington, and you just see like when he's hitting threes, man, it's different. Like, it's like his threes, like the it's almost like you see the whole team energy, like just like when he's in, like when he's locked in and he's hitting shots, like you can see it kind of elevates, others. It's like it almost means more. I don't know why, but we've seen it, and we've seen him struggle in series, and then in the fourth quarter, he's hitting clutch threes. Be like 1 for 7 for the game, and then he hits a corner three, like a big three. I think if PJ Washington is hitting threes at, let's say, 38% or more, for example, I think the Mavs are going to win because he's going to get those looks. Him and Derek Jones are going to get open threes. Like, it's just going to happen. And it's a matter of can they consistently hit them. And I think PJ Washington, I would put a little bit higher importance than Derek Jones, but it could go either way there. For Boston, Porzingis, of course, we know. I went a little bit different route because as great as Boston's defense is, and by the way, since March, by the way, the entire league, these are the two best defenses, including the playoffs as well. Net rating, points per game, points per 100 possessions, like everything. These are the two best. Despite how great the defenses are, the offenses are also really, really good. So you're going to need offense. So on the Boston side, I looked at Peyton Pritchard, who
hell yeah.
averages 15 to 20 minutes a game or so. He's actually been relatively hot in the playoffs. He's shooting. I don't expect this to continue, but if it does, it's a great sign for Boston. He's at 45.5% on threes in the playoffs this year. For his career, he's 39.5. So obviously it's a little bit higher, but I think you're going to need offense. You're going to need at least one game of somebody who gets like 20 plus points that is not expected. Because of how great Luka and Kyrie are, you're going to need offense. And I think Pritchard is another guy they feed off. And when he gets going, it's a thing. I think if Boston wins, he's going to have at least one game of 15 points or more. Because you're going to need offense. You can't stop Kyrie and Luka forever. They're too good.
Hey, facts. Yeah. Facts. Gary, any rebuttal?
No, that's okay. Pretty straightforward.
All right, sounds good. Ben, I'm going to throw this bone right back at you. If the Celtics lose, man, what should they do with the Tatum and Brown pairing? I know you're going to be passionate about this one.
We
talked about the trade being difficult, but it's not impossible. Two $300 million guys in your roster. That's a lot of dough. And then you got Drew Holiday, who you signed to an extension. Porzingis, something's got to happen. But your thoughts?
Yeah, so we've seen I'll give actually 3 examples of the last 5 years of horrible contracts that were traded. Russell Westbrook, Jordan Poole, and of course I just forgot the third I was going to say. Russell Westbrook, Jordan Poole, and Kyle Kuzma.
Bradley Beal?
Kyle Kuzma and Bradley Beal is another one. So there are plenty of examples in recent history of horrible contracts being traded. My point in saying that is, for me personally, Tatum and Brown, I don't make this comparison. I think I've made the comparison before as well. LeBron and Wade get together. They both were ball dominant. They both had the ball all the time. They were the superstars for their teams. So that first year together, yes, LeBron was horrible in the finals. We can all understand that. But the chemistry between the two, on-court chemistry, was just off. And then obviously they had their kumbaya in the offseason when D Wade was basically like, you're better than me. You need to be the guy. You need to stop respecting that I was in Miami for so long. They figured it out. And they would have passionate arguments on the court. There was a trust level there. They could come at each other because they trusted what the other person was saying was good advice and all of that jazz. So they were very similar type players, both ball dominant, both used to being the guy on their teams. Because of the relationship off the court, they obviously figured it out. How can it work on the court where we're both successful and the team is successful? I feel like Tatum and Brown, there isn't that trust or chemistry. They win a lot, and they'll both sometimes have 30 plus points, but it doesn't, the eye test, it's it doesn't look like there's just something off, whether it's body language, whether it's trust, whether it's relationship, whatever it is. It hasn't gotten in the way of the team being successful because we've already alluded to how successful they've been, but there's something off between those two. And for me personally, if I'm an owner, I can't be paying $600 million for 2 guys that are going to win a lot in the regular season but not get a championship. So I wrote down, if they don't win, I don't really care who it is between Tatum or Brown. I wrote down, shop them both and take the best deal. Shop them both, take the highest bid, whatever the best trade is, you take that. Because me personally, I'm an owner. I'm not paying 2 guys over $600 million that don't have a championship. I can't do it.
And
that's my answer.
I'm with you, and Gary, and here's my thing, right? obviously, the player that I think we both agree that we much rather have is Jason Tatum, because I think we both agree that Jason Tatum is the higher upside player. Will we say that? Okay, but real quick, because I know where you're going with this. But would you be okay trading for Jaylen Brown at that type of contract based on his skill level? Would you be okay building a team around Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum? Based on the money.
Tatum's a better playmaker. That's the thing. Better dribbler and better playmaker. Better assist.
Who are you going to keep if you're Boston? You're going to keep Jason Tatum. So Jaylen Brown with that type of money, but talk to me.
They're going to have to agree to pay part of his contract. It's the only way it gets done.
Right. I think that's the biggest factor that nullifies everything else on our arguments. Boston would have to trade whoever they trade. They're going to eat a huge part of that salary to get that done, and it's going to be a lose-lose no matter how you slice it. Now, I gave a face when you said that Tatum is the better player than Brown, and I'm like, he has the better upside.
Yeah,
but I think that Jaylen Brown has more of that dog in him. That's going to be like, I'm gonna will a team to. Jaylen Brown's going to will a team to a championship. I can't say the same thing about Jason Tatum. Mm-hmm. I think Jason Tatum can be the best. Jason Tatum is like a more offensively explosive Tim Duncan. In that he's not the loud rah-rah guy. He's lead by example.
Yeah, Gary, too, just to highlight your point, Jaylen Brown, even though he had a bad game in Game 7 last year when Tatum got hurt, he was like, dude, we're winning or we're losing because I'm taking charge. And he did. He was like, I'm seizing the moment. I'm going to be the reason we win or the reason we lose, but he's out. Now it's on me. And he did.
Like I said, that dog in him. Like he showed that. So for any basketball purist, they're going to look at Jaylen Brown and go, listen, he might go 7 of 43 from the field, but he's going to give me all the hustle points and everything else in between. I can't say that about Jason Tatum just yet. Jason Tatum's more of the finesse player, which is fine. You need to have one of those guys. But if I'm Wyc Grousbeck, the owner of the Celtics, honestly, that's a really hard decision. I wouldn't be up. I would put it this way. If I was a Celtics fan, I wouldn't be upset if they traded Jason Tatum. I don't think that they will. I think we're all in agreement that at the end of the day, he's more of the face of the franchise that Boston wants.
But you could also the counter argument to what Jeff was saying is you could definitely get more for Tatum because of how he's looked at. And number two, he hasn't signed that mega extension yet. And correct me, I'm not 100% sure on this, but if he were to get traded, his mega extension would not be the same with the new team. It would be less. It would be less.
It drops $50 million.
You could get more for Tatum, and you could save more money by trading Tatum.
I don't think it works out that way, though, Ben. I don't think it works like.
No. I think it's almost a guarantee he's signing that supermax.
Yeah, so you're going to have $200-300 million players. I guarantee you, they're going to choose Jason Tatum over Jaylen Brown. At the end of the day, Jason Tatum's not for sale. Okay, so they're like, okay, Jaylen Brown could go, but we feel better about building a team around Jason Tatum than we do about Jaylen Brown, because Jaylen Brown, to your point, Gary, has that dog. He's like that Iverson type of I'm gonna go get mine, right?
He
doesn't have the type of upside, I'm afraid, that Jason Tatum has. That's just the only thing. If they put those two together, oh my God. Can you imagine
be paying $630 million for those two, and then Drew Holiday $130 million? So you're talking about almost $800 million to three.
Right, that's a lot, man. And Porzingis,
almost $800 million to three.
And you still would have to build a bench.
Yeah,
and they just signed Pritchard to an extension last summer.
So
your options are a little bit limited. You kind of got to win. Like you're almost stuck in a way with this roster. You got to get it done.
This is what I mean. Like this is a win or else situation. Like you win, or I don't see how that team stays together. Period. I don't like if they don't win a championship within the next 2-3 years. I can see them tanking. I can see them blowing it up and starting all over again
this year, Gary. They got to do it this year. They got to do it this year because
they have to. But I look at Brad Stevens. I was going to say Danny Ainge, but he's in Utah. I look at Brad Stevens. I look at him. I think he would definitely try to give them one more opportunity to run it back and see if they can get a healthy Porzingis for a lot longer, or certainly healthier come playoff time.
Yeah,
I mean, he's more willing to let that happen than to trade one or the other. I think that's why I said they have to do it in the next 2 to 3, including this year, because otherwise, yeah, you have to then blow it up.
Yeah.
Will we say they're the Bills of the NBA right now?
Without question.
Yeah. And by the way, them and the Boston Bruins, I'm in Massachusetts. They're almost the same as far as like so much success.
The regular
season. Championships since 2010. 2010 was the Bruins. 2008 was the Celtics. Mm-hmm. And since then, tons of wins, tons of playoff success.
A lot of
no championships.
Yeah. All right, let's keep this thing rolling. Let's make this one a little bit quick because I want to spend some time on the NFL one. Gary, I'll toss this to you, man. Any storylines or anything you're watching? And then let's make some serious predictions. No pressure, Gary Legend.
What I'm looking forward to is just how much the Celtics fans are going to use racial epithets toward Kyrie Irving and other hate speech, because that's coming. That's going to be a thing. Mm-hmm. No, I think his reception in Boston is going to be what it's been, no matter what jersey he's put on that's not Celtics related. But if you're in terms of prediction, I'm going to go ahead and say that the Celtics win in 5. I don't think it's going to be as long of a series as most people think it's going to be. I think Dallas is good. I think it's going to be 5 very close games, but I think it's going to be 5 games.
You want to put a 20 on that?
Sure.
Okay, virtual gentleman's wager. I got. All right, you saw that, everyone. I put a 20. I want them all in pennies. Man, I mean, we talked about it before, man. I got Dallas in this one in 6, and for me, I want to see. I want to see Kyrie. I want to see if Kyrie. I want to see one of those two guys are going to get the Finals MVP. I'm going to say Kyrie's going to get the Finals MVP over Luka. That's what I'm predicting. Go ahead.
I was going to say the other small little game within the game. I guess we can all agree Jason Kidd is a better head coach than Joe Mazzulla.
Oh yeah.
Now, how much does that matter? And will there be like a crucial moment in the fourth quarter that Kidd outshines Mazzulla and that could swing a game, and technically one game could swing the series? So will the head coaching advantage show up or not? That's one little thing, because we all know Kidd's a more accomplished and better coach at this point. Series prediction, I'm going Mavs in 7, because everybody's like, well, they'll have game 7 at home. It'll be in Boston. Yeah, they'll have all the pressure. The Mavs will have none. If they get to a game 7 in Boston, I'm picking the Mavs to win that game, and that's my series prediction, Mavs in 7.
Okay. All right. I like it a lot. All right. Let's get back to this one. Let's get back to a little bit of NFL talk, because we could start drafting we got the email. We could start drafting in fantasy football. Not thinking about it yet. Not thinking about it until late July, but I'm excited for football. So we have 4 conferences per team, 2 AFC, 2 NFC. For each conference, we each pick a playoff team from last year that will miss the playoffs this year, and we pick one team that missed the playoffs last year that will make the playoffs. So it's kind of a little bit of a switcherooski. Gary Legend, you there?
Yeah, he said start with me.
Okay. Oh, he said he's going to be right back. All right, so let's start with you, Ben. This one's going to be fun. Speak your mind.
All right, so I went with the AFC first, and for me, the obvious miss now make is the Jets, right? I mean, that's the most clear answer because Rodgers. So I'm not using that, and I don't care if either of you do. That's completely fine.
They're not making it.
I didn't go that route. I also personally think even if he's healthy, there's no guarantee that they do make it. So I didn't pick the Jets, even if they get a full season of Rodgers. I'm not even 100% sure they'll make the playoffs there. So, but I'll start with made and miss. And made last year, and I know they've gotten better, but there's something, I don't know what it is. I have a gut feeling that they're going to fall a little bit short of expectations. It's going to be the Steelers. Their roster has gotten better. The quarterback position has gotten better. But the AFC, I think, especially with Burrow, if he's healthy coming back, the Jaguars are good. They're not going anywhere. Like the AFC, I think, has gotten better. So even though the Steelers, I think we can all agree, have gotten better as well, I just get that feeling that they'll be the one to miss that made the playoffs. And on the flip side, I was tempted to go Bengals as far as missed and make it this year, which is a perfect answer if you guys go that route. For me, I went a slightly different route, and I'm just going to say I trust Trevor Lawrence enough to say that I don't think they're going to miss the playoffs 2 years in a row. So that was my AFC. Why don't we go AFC, and then we'll circle around to NFC.
Yeah.
So I'll go AFC, and then you guys go, and then we'll go NFC.
And you mentioned, and Gary, and just real quick, we mentioned the Steelers, right? I just want to say, just for context, what their last –
their 6 games. Yep.
After the bye week, they week 11. This is fun. Baltimore, then at Cleveland, at Cincinnati, at home against Cleveland, at Philly, at Baltimore versus Kansas City, and then also versus Cincinnati. So, and then even before that, you still got Dallas in the mix. So they have to come out like guns a-blazing the first, like literally those first 3 games. So there's really no pressure. There's a lot of pressure on them to get this quarterback situation figured out, because I'm like, at what point are you going to pull the trigger on Russell Wilson if he's struggling? Like at what week? You can't wait until week 6, because you got to come out with at least only 2 losses and come out those final 8 games like 4-4 realistically to make the playoffs.
To be completely honest, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there, but I think it'd be a mistake if the Steelers don't have an open competition, which sounds like they're not going to. But I think training camp, there should be a completely open competition.
Yeah, facts. But Gary, your thoughts?
So I'm going to go, if we're doing the AFC first, I think the teams that made the playoffs, that'll miss the playoffs, I'm leaning towards Miami. I think they lost too many pieces in the offseason for that to be sustainable. And with the Jets doing whatever the hell the Jets are going to do, and Buffalo being Buffalo, I think they have to take that step back. And I think I don't trust Cleveland as far as I can throw them. There's just this thing with them. I don't know why. I don't know what it is specifically that causes me to have trepidation with them. And, yes, they won 11 games last year with 4 different quarterbacks, but I think that was an anomaly as opposed to, what the norm will be. I think that they'll be a 9-8 team, but I think that they'll be like one of those 9-8 teams that misses the playoffs. And who makes the playoffs in their place. I'm going to agree with you. I think Jacksonville, I think they will right the ship and figure out a way to sneak into the playoffs, as one of the wild cards. And then I'm going to say Cincinnati. I think a healthy Joe Burrow has shown you exactly how good he is and can be. I think if he gives you anything close to what he gave you pre-injury, they're going to be up there fighting with Kansas City for that top seed. So I think those are your 2, Cincinnati and Jacksonville.
Okay, I'm looking at this AFC East, man, with Buffalo, Miami, Jets, and New England. We know the New England is kind of like the bottom dweller of the goddamn division, because I do not believe the rookie quarterback is anything good. I think he's trash, and I think he's very overrated. You don't draft North Carolina quarterbacks. I don't know what's wrong with you people. But, yeah, I'm looking at you.
Some of us haven't learned.
Yeah, they're trash. He's trash. Just a trashy player. But anyway, Buffalo, Miami, I'm like, I'm with you on Miami. But I'm going to say Baltimore this year. I'm going to say Baltimore. And
Baltimore's going to miss the playoffs?
Yeah, they're going to miss the playoffs.
Okay.
Yeah, they're going to miss the playoffs. And it's not because they have a losing record. It is because they lost a lot offensively and defensively. So I'm worried about it from a chemistry perspective. I'm looking at the receiving core that they have. They have not always been the most deep at wide receiver with guys that can just flat out take the top off the defenses. So you're just wondering about their kind of style of play. And this division is going to be way too competitive, man. I think if Deshaun Watson can just be even average with that defense that they have and that running game, Nick Chubb comes back eventually at the end of the year. So this division is going to be ugly. It's going to be ugly. And then I'm going to say for a team that didn't make the playoffs that I think is going to make it, I'm going to say Indianapolis.
I like that. Yeah.
I think if Anthony Richardson can just – he has to make at least 60% of his throws. That's a very low bar.
Mm-hmm.
Just complete 60% of your passes, rush for about 850 yards, have about 30 touchdowns combined. I think that's enough production with Michael Pittman, with that improved offensive line. And that division, I think Houston is here, but now they're going from being the hunter to the hunted. So how are they going to –
That's the thing. That's one of the biggest questions for me for the whole season is the Texans. Now you have expectations,
right? Super Bowl.
Didn't have any.
We're not just talking. We're talking Super Bowl. Dylan, we're talking Super Bowl, bro.
Absolutely.
When you're talking about Joe Mixon, you're talking about Tank Dell, you're talking about Stephon Diggs, you're talking about all these weapons, right? Dalton Schultz, who's not a Dalton Schultz, right? Dalton Schultz.
Yeah. They re-signed him. They re-signed him.
He's
and
not
they re-signed Nico Collins. Like you got weapons. Like you got. It should be if they're relatively healthy. It should be Chiefs Texans AFC Championship game. Like that's what it should be.
That's a lot. I mean, that's what's going to make this. I'm so excited for the NFL season.
But I'm telling you, the Texans, man, there's going to be something to watch because they have the talent to get where everyone thinks they can, but it's different when you have expectations.
Now is the time, though, because why? Because Stroud is on a rookie deal. That is the time. Because they got maybe 2 years, so we'll see. But let's get to the NFC.
Yeah, so NFC, I mean, I just think that NFC South. I mean, what are you going to do there? I chose one team for one, but I didn't. I could have used one and then picked the division winner. Be like flip flop. Here you go. Instead, I gave you one NFC South team and I switched up. So as far as made and then missed the playoffs this year, I'm going to go Bucks. And frankly, I just think that the Falcons are going to win the division. So there you go. Even with their stupid decision to draft Penix, but that's another story for another day. But I think the Falcons are good enough to win that division. But as far as missed the playoffs and now make, I'm actually going with one of your homes, Jeff. Seattle. Going with Seattle. I think that they are really good and they draft really well. Their GM Schneider is really good at drafting, and that Russell Wilson trade, part of the reason it is slanted so far in Seattle's favor, regardless of Wilson's performance, we know what that is. But the draft picks that they've got, they've hit on, and because of that, and because of how well they are drafting, and they only missed by a game last year, I think Seattle is going to go from missing to in the playoffs.
The Seahawks scary, they're damn, they are a team that's like ready. You look at the running backs, they got 2 really good running backs, Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker. They both should get burned. You got freaking homeboy Noah Fant. Then you got what's the name? I can't remember.
DK Metcalf.
And the other 2.
And then Jackson Smith and the Jigba.
Yeah. And then
Lockett.
Yeah, my brain is like fried because my allergies are kicking my
butt. And that offensive line is good too.
It's the defense, man. It's the defense. Can they get a freaking pass rush? That's the thing. But anywho, Gary, take it away. NFC team, sir.
All right, so teams that made the playoffs that are going to miss the playoffs. I think, Ben, you and I are in agreement. The NFC South, whoever won last year isn't going to win this year. So I don't care. Just
happy for Baker for his money, though. I'm happy.
Yeah, no, good for him. Good for him.
He
earned his money. I'm not gonna listen. You won one more game than Tom Brady did with the same team.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm just saying. So he earned his money, but I think they're a team that can take that step back. And again, who cares who wins the NFC South? Nobody's going to do anything out of that division anyway. The other team. Tigney, I'm going to apologize ahead of time, but I feel like there's going to be a bit of a letdown in Detroit. I don't know why. I don't know why.
That's another team like the Texans. Like now you have expectations.
I think that's what it is. I don't know. historically Detroit's not lived up to expectations very well, just historically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't think this is going to be like, all right, they won 12 games and then it's going to be another 10 years before they see this level of success again.
You're just saying they could go from 12 to 10, and depending upon how good the NFC is, you could be 10 wins and not in.
And I'm looking at Green Bay. I think, another year for Jordan Love under his belt. Like, I think that's going to be the back and forth that it should be. I think Chicago, you don't know, they came on strong to end the regular season. So, you don't know what you're getting in Minnesota. You don't know there either. So I think Detroit, there's enough room for letdown with that team that I could see them not making the playoffs. They probably have a winning record, but again, like you said, Ben, be one of those teams that kind of is on the outside looking in just because they're losing games that they shouldn't be losing at the wrong time of year. I can see that being the narrative with that team.
Yeah, and I want to take, and before I even get mine, I don't think mine are that relevant. I just want to talk about this NFC North for like 2 or 3 minutes if we can, gentlemen, because this division, Ben.
Let's have Gary say his the opposite.
I'm sorry, we'll do that.
So the two, Seattle, yes, for the very reasons that you gave, and then I guess whoever wins the division in the NFC South.
There we go.
Okay.
Next, go ahead.
And for
Jeff.
me, team that made it. I'm gonna say New Orleans is probably gonna win that division, and I think they're gonna do it with Spencer Rattler, quarterback. I think he's gonna surprise a lot of people. I got a faith, but I want to talk about this division for like 2 seconds because this division, Ben. I mean, when you look at Detroit, when you look at their quarterback situation, he's decent. Green Bay. There's still questions about can Jordan Love be this good for a full 17-game season? Like, he played really bad at the beginning of last year and then played really good into the end. Like, is he – now that teams are going to be scouting him, these defenses, can he be that guy like this year, And then Chicago and Minnesota, man, like this division's really fun all of a sudden. But just your take on 30 seconds, then we'll get to the NBA.
Yeah, I think that I wasn't trying to rush you. I was just saying that that's cool. Yeah, like for me, Jordan Love, to your point, like he played really well second half of the season and into the playoffs. Even played well for most of that 49ers game, and had the turnovers at the end, but he played well regular season and playoffs. Now, what we've been saying is now there's expectations for him too and for the team. But I think I do have some trust in him for 2 reasons. Because Matt LaFleur and play calling matters, and Matt LaFleur is a very good play caller, and last year showed that. And secondly, those young receivers will all probably, at least one of them will get a little bit better. If all 3 or 4 of them get a little bit better, then that's then you're going on the next level. But I think the young receivers, if they all make, or not all, if 2 of them, let's say, make a small jump, and the belief I have in LaFleur, so I would say Jordan Love, I'm not too nervous about. I think he's going to have another good season for sure.
All right, hey man, it's going to be exciting, and this Chicago team, man, all of a sudden, they got
Keenan Allen, Udunze, Caleb Williams, obviously,
DJ Moore, Komet, they have weapons, but it's Chicago. It's like I'm rooting for my fellow DMV guy. But anyway, let's get to this NBA because I want to spend some time on this one. So put your GM hat on, and Gary Legend will come from his nap. Okay, put your GM hat on. You got to think about the injuries, obviously, the age, the contract. Out of Paul George, Jimmy Butler, or Joel Embiid, which would you trade for if you're running a team hypothetically? So,
yeah, and we're assuming the trade is fair. If the trade is fair, which of those 3 do we want?
Yeah, and I'm going to jump in on this one, start real quick. For me, the easy one is, like, if I can trade Joel Embiid, I would do it in a heartbeat. Mm-hmm. Like, I think when you're looking at, he got drafted in 2014, he misses the first 2 seasons because of foot injuries. He's only played in, I think Stephen A. Smith said, like 48% of the games that he was eligible to play. He's not going to be healthy for a full season. It's just not going to happen. So if I'm them, I trade, get as many assets as possible, build a team around Maxey, who's only 23 years old.
So Jeff, I like your answer, but you're kind of answering it the opposite way. At least my intent.
You got me all excited.
My intent was, out of those three, who do you want?
Who do I want?
You're a GM on another. You're on another
my mind
team.
was. Oh, my bad. My mind was.
You're good. You're good. Your answer was completely right. It was just the opposite.
Sorry. Paul George. That one's easy for me. Paul George, because Jimmy Butler is damaged goods at this point. I don't think he has any juice left in the tank. And Joel Embiid. Well, I just went on a whole soliloquy answering opposite of the question. So we'll just go Paul George. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, all of our viewers out there.
You're good, man. Your answer was great. If the question was that way, your answer was great.
I go on these heads, but go ahead, man.
No, you're good. You're good, man. And I think so for me, because of what you said as far as the injuries go, and I'll just say this quick. So let's go with the ages. Paul George is 33, Embiid's 29, Butler's 34. All of them have injury histories. All of them do. Embiid worse than the other two, but the other two have significant injury histories as well. So for me, Embiid's out just because, we have not seen him healthy for a playoff run, an entire playoff run, besides once. And that was that Kawhi Leonard lucky three-point shot. So you're talking about from 2014 to 2024, we've seen one entire playoff run where he was healthy. One. I'm not trading for that. I can't. I don't want that, because you pretty much know he's not going to be 100% in the playoffs. So then it comes down to George versus Butler. Now, the injury histories are similar. Age is obviously similar. For me, I went Butler for this reason. Paul George, he has had his playoff moments on the positive side. He has. Give him credit. He's had some buzzer beaters. He's had some big moments. But he's also had some flops. And Jimmy Butler has taken a lesser Miami team to the NBA Finals twice in the last 4 years. Now, they haven't won, but because of his playoff success, that puts him a tide above George for me, because I've seen Jimmy Butler do it in the playoffs and lead a team, be the best player on a team that goes to the NBA Finals. We've never seen that from Paul George. So for me, that's why I went Butler, just because the age difference is nothing really. It's 33 and 34. Butler's done it in the playoffs, so I chose Butler for that.
Okay. Gary, your thoughts?
And I don't want to sound like a broken record, because you guys kind of broke it down perfectly as far as Embiid and the injury history and all that, and the lack of success in the playoffs. And Paul George, his career has been very weird.
Yeah, for sure.
He is the most forgotten about superstar, I think, of this era, because it's been he's been a great player that's been regulated being the second banana on teams, and as post Indiana, I should say.
Yeah, he was there. Yeah, Indiana, they had just ran into prime LeBron and prime Wade,
right?
Or else they would have been in the finals. That team was that good.
And then with Oklahoma City, Golden State was at the top of that mountain. The Clippers, the mountain again, then became Denver's. So there's a level of you understand why he hasn't gotten to that point. Paul George's generation's Reggie Miller, in the sense of he's great. He's an all-time great that keeps running into roadblock after roadblock after roadblock.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So
yep.
I see a lot of that in him. In terms of who I'd want to build with, you got to go with Jimmy Butler, because he showed you in Chicago, he showed you in Minnesota, now he showed you in Miami, and in Philly. He has no quit in him. His only reason why he hasn't played is his body finally broke down on him.
Mm-hmm.
But I distinctly remember against the Lakers in the bubble in 2020, just him taking that team that should have lost that series in 5 games and winning that 5th game.
Yeah, he won a game by himself.
He dragged.
He won a game in the finals. He won a game by himself. Yeah,
he dragged the Heat team to a game 6 by himself. That's somebody that you want to hit your wagon to. Now, yes, Is his health the absolute best? No, but he's also of the three, I believe he's the oldest one. So like,
Yeah, but the difference between George and him is it's 33 and 34. So
right. So
and I specifically picked these three players because there's contract issue stuff, there's injury history stuff, there's like all three could be on different teams or they all could be on the same team. So I'm like, let's just have some fun and see where it goes.
right. So I mean, I think of those three, you go Jimmy Butler, and you kind of do what Pat Riley has done. You ride that horse as long as you can until it falls apart.
Facts.
Yeah.
All right, let's get. I want both of y'all's thoughts, so let's get right to it. We'll get to Gary's. Let's get to your gripe first, Gary, and then we'll get to you, Ben. I want to hear this.
No. I want Gary to end the show. I want Gary to go last.
End the show?
So I'll
Okay,
go first.
okay,
Yeah, I want Gary to end it.
All right, Gary, you just look a little tired there, buddy.
Yeah,
No, it's okay.
Gary gets to end it with a bang. So I'll go first. My thing was on first of all, we were talking about injuries, and my mind went to this is a side note, but we were robbed of Lakers Clippers in the bubble conference finals. That was the one playoffs that Kawhi and Paul George were both healthy. They're up 3-1 on Denver. Just from the sports perspective, fans' perspective, we wanted to see Kawhi, LeBron, while they were both in their primes again. We didn't get it because the Clippers choked. Those are the only playoffs that they had healthy, Paul George and Kawhi. But that's a little side note. My actual rant, so to speak, is on the sports gambling. And more so, like, for me, if all of these leagues are making money off of the fact that these gambling sponsorships exist, which they're all profiting hugely with all the gambling partnerships that they have and all the contracts that they have. For me, if I'm a player, if I'm not betting on my specific sport, because we all know you can't bet on your sport, that's integrity of the game, that changes your performance, you cannot bet on your own sport. But aside from that, for me, let them bet. It's their money. It's legal. Let them bet. If they want to blow their whole contract betting on a different sport, then that's their prerogative to me. I think there's an over-regulation. I think, yes, betting on the sport that you're in, 100%, you cannot do that. But beside from that, it'll never happen. But if I was in charge, I'd be like, yo, bet on any sport you want, any amount you want. If you go bankrupt, you go bankrupt. That's it. That's your problem. Can't bet on the sport that you're in, but you can bet on any other sport, and you can bet as much money as anybody. Because me, you, the three of us could go to Vegas and put down however much money we had. So we're not going there, but we could put down whatever we wanted. The athlete should be able to do the same thing if it's not their sport. Like, I have this money. I can choose how to spend it. What if I don't want to buy 15 cars? What if I don't want 5 houses? What if I really love gambling? It's their money. Let them lose it. If they're going to lose it, let them lose it. I think for me, that would be the one change if I was, all of sports. Like, you're profiting so much off of these gambling sponsorships. And think about it. If the athletes are contributing and betting on other sports, they're making even more money. The leagues are. Because then there's more bets being placed on those leagues. So the leagues would actually profit more from it. So for me, that's because you brought up, the baseball thing, and there's been a lot of kind of betting, gambling scandals. That to me, that's the easiest fix. Let them bet on any sport that they're not in, any amount. Let them do it. If they go bankrupt, they go bankrupt.
Okay. Hey, facts. Well said. Gary?
It was all good in New York about 3 weeks ago. We were on top of the world. The Knicks are doing well. The Rangers are doing well. Like, the Garden is alive and it's jumping, and we're going to take over. We're going to get all of our championships back. And here the fuck we are again. Here we are again. Like, now, all fairness, I know you guys have talked about this since my last appearance. The Knicks fell apart physically. Like, we can talk about
absolutely, yeah.
End of the day, like, they fell apart physically. It is what it is. Rangers, you fell to a better team. Florida got to the dance last year. They're going to get to the dance this year, and they're going to win the Stanley Cup this year. I think, but you just lost to a clearly better team.
Mm-hmm.
But New York, fear not. The Yankees are 43-19 and have the best record in the league. It's okay. Like, we have something to cheer for right now, and we need something. No, because we need somebody to break this streak. It has been 12 years since our last championship here in New York, since the Giants won Super Bowl 46, which, you look at the Boston sports dominance that's happened in the time between, and like all the parity of different cities winning championships, and it's great. There's nothing like a championship and a parade down the Canyon of Heroes. It's just for the culture. It's necessary. So I'm looking at the Yankees. I notice I'm ignoring the Mets because, frankly, they're worth ignoring. You got the Liberty. And I know somebody's going to say, well, what about the soccer teams? I don't know 3 players on them, so I'm not going to include that. But somebody's got to break this streak. A team has to come through. We need a parade in New York. It's been way too long. And then just one last thing, and it's about the Knicks, because I've heard, we need Karl Anthony Towns. Do you? Do you really? Because
so you're saying you need a superstar athlete to give you 3 stupid fouls a game?
He's not it.
Wait, no, because we had 3 stupid fouls a game and 5 for 17 from the field in the playoffs. Julius Randle, we have him.
Yeah, you already got that.
You got him.
You already got it.
You're already paying him. Why are you going to then go after
Get another
Cat?
one? Yeah.
All respect to Cat because he's younger. I get that. But he's not going to be the reason.
You'd also have to, if you're trading for him, you also have to give up some assets.
So you're going to give up
that you have.
Right. And then you lucked out with the RJ Barrett trade. Mm-hmm. That once a healthy OG Anunoby proved why, okay, this was a good move. So you lucked out there. But if I'm the Knicks, you got to get another 2 guard in there. Mm-hmm. Dante DiVincenzo is supposed to be your 6th man. Josh Hart's supposed to be your 6th man. Those are supposed to be your top players off the bench. They're not supposed to be the starting 2 guard for your team. And this
get a bigger guard, a bigger guard.
They needed DeMar DeRozan.
But Gary, they can't destroy this chemistry though, man. They got to do it right. And Cat is not.
I get that, but my thing is, 53 years is a long time.
Yeah, I'm not saying
that. I think Gary's saying don't break it up, but they need more.
Yeah. No, what I'm saying is, I'm with you. They need more, but they need to do the right fits, is what I'm saying. They need to be very careful because they got a good thing right now. They really, really do. They have a team that could win a championship next year if they use, now is the time to strike. You got to do it. Who wouldn't want to come to New York right now with this type of
team? For the first time in 25, 30 years, the Knicks are our landing spot. They're a team that you want to go to.
Right.
They're a team that you want to play with. Tom Thibodeau is showing you. He's showing, and then I think that's the biggest thing, and this is where I have to applaud the Knicks. The way that they backed Tibbs, when everybody's saying, "Oh, it's the overplaying them," and this is why they're falling apart. When they come out and say, "We want to be coached like that," that's how you get to be a champion.
Yeah,
that's something special. And
yeah,
for them,
they got a college vibe, chemistry wise, fit wise, it just works. It gels.
Which leads me to this last point, and I'll be done on this. If Tom Thibodeau Tom Thibodeau's ever let go, they have to go get Jay Wright. I don't care how much you have. I don't care what the price tag is for him. If there's anybody that's going to get the most out of his Nova players, it's got to be Jay Wright.
Jay Wright?
That's it. That's a way. This is why I want Gary to go last. This is why I want him to go last.
If they choose to move on from Tom Thibodeau, which I think would be a mistake, but if they chose to move on from him, you have to go get Jay Wright. Nobody else. Period.
And that's how you
All right,
end
well,
with a
we'll leave
bang.
with that.
That's how
We'll
you end
leave
with a
with that.
bang.
Good one. Good one. My man, Gary Legend, everybody. Gary Legend. All right, gentlemen, it was a pleasure to talk it up with you guys again. I do believe Tigney should be coming back next week, but no pressure again, Tigney. You know, just come on back now. Come on home whenever you're ready. Love to have you. Anyway, we'll be back next week, same time, same place. And Gary, I'm with you. These Yankees are looking mighty good right now, and Garrett Cole has not even pitched for us yet.
How scary is that?
Can you imagine?
How
Luis Gil,
scary is that?
Luis Gil, man, that guy
Luis
is
Gil's going to start in the All-Star game. Mark my words.
easily. It's exciting time to be a Yankees fan. But all right, guys, peace and love. Bye.
Peace.